Joining us now on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline is BYUtv dual threat analyst for football and basketball and a BYU national champion, Blaine Fowler. Blaine, great to have you back on, man.
What's going on, guys?
Well, we're just trying to figure out what exactly we want to hear from the newly introduced BYU coordinators today around 3 p.m. Eastern. So what do you want to hear from those guys when they take the mic for the first time in a public forum?
You know what? I hope that they don't really know what they're going to run. They know what they want to do philosophically. Like, I know Ty, and I've known him for years. I know he wants to run a pro-style balanced offense, and I'm sure we'll hear that. It'll be really similar to what we saw from BYU back when Ty played, where the quarterback is a pocket passer and, a lot of two-back and tight ends back involved again. I heard he put the word out saying, hey, great tight ends, we're looking for you. So I think we'll hear that. But I'm betting we're going to hear a little bit about how recruiting is the focus. And as I look at what Kalani did in assembling the staff with Tuiaki and Detmer and what he's doing so far, it's obvious that what he's doing is he's trying to assemble a staff of the best recruiters in the country. And, if you've got great talent, and if they start getting all the high-profile LDS recruits and then add to that with some other kids that fit in, does it really matter what you run, or can you dominate with better athletes? And so I'm betting they're going to talk about recruiting and how they're already recruiting, and their focus has been on recruiting.
Yesterday, Blaine, we talked about the Big 12 proposal, January 15th. It's going to be voted on. That could have potential expansion implications. Do you think that proposal will pass on January 15th, or if it doesn't, that expansion could happen?
So, first of all, it's just so hard to predict because when we went into this fall, right before the fall, I thought that it was going to be a certainty that it would pass. But then if you remember, the Big Ten pushed an amendment through that blocked basically the ability to deregulate the championships. So now it's a two-step process.
They want divisions. Yeah.
Right. So the Big 12 now first has to overturn the amendment that the Big Ten proposed. Then they have to push through an approval for deregulation. So it's a little more difficult than it was just 7 months ago. So I do think it's going to be harder. Now I'm like 50-50. I would have told you it was a 90% chance it was going to go through. Now I'm 50-50. Because obviously the Big Ten has felt like, wait a minute here, we expanded to 14, the ACC has 14, the SEC has 14. Why are we going to let these guys not do that? And so there's going to be some opposition to it. So now I say it's 50-50, maybe even 40-60 that they don't get it. If they don't get it, I believe there's enough support with the big schools that they'll expand. And I would certainly think BYU would be one of the top couple of teams on the list. So there you go. Unpredictable, but more likely that it gets voted, the approval to deregulate gets voted down because of the two-step process than it was, say, in August.
Okay, Blaine, put on your magic hat. Let's have some hypothetical fun here. We want you to look into the future. What happens first, a Big 12 invite for BYU, or BYU men's basketball wins a West Coast Conference championship?
Oh, gosh. I think they're going to win a WCC championship next year. So... And I don't know, even if deregulation doesn't go through, Bob Bowlesby, the Big 12 commissioner, I don't know, does he seem like the most boring man in the world? He's the opposite. He's the opposite of the Dos Equis guy. He's not the most interesting man in the world.
Wait.
He's the most boring man in the world. And I think he'll drag his feet, and eventually they'll do it. But I say they win a WCC championship next year, and then the Big 12 expansion comes that following spring.
Let's continue with hoops. BYU 8-8 in the RPI right now, 5 out in Lenardi's latest bracketology. What do you think of BYU hoops at about the midway point right now?
We're kind of in the position we were last year, right, where we're going, oh, gosh, can they really make it from here? And then
last 2 years.
Strong. Yeah, then they finished strong. I think they'll do the same. I was a little disappointed in their consistency through 15 games. When I look at them statistically, I go, hey, 38.5% from three, that's not bad. Well, if they shot 38.5% every game, they'd probably be 12-3, not 10-5. The problem is they shoot lights out one game, and the next game they're horrific. And so consistency is what they need, but I think as they get into league play, we'll see more consistency. Young guys will be more consistent, so Nick Emery will get more consistent. I don't know what to make of Chase Fisher. We need him to be more consistent. But in the end, I think they're going to get right to that level where they're going to have to win 2 games in the conference tournament again and get to the finals. I believe if they can get to 26 wins, they're going to be in. And so that's a tall task, but I believe they're up to it. I think they have the talent to do it. And I think they'll get on a roll down the stretch just because that's what Dave Rose has coached out of these guys in the past. He's proven to us that when their backs are against the wall and they go down the stretch in the season, they can get better as the season progresses. We know he's a great coach. I expect him to do the same again this year.
If inconsistency is the biggest issue for BYU men's basketball right now, where do you think they are excelling the most?
Well, I think they're rebounding the basketball well. They're like +6 in rebound margin this year, and they've been solid inside. They've been better at times defensively, but I just think this team is a team that's more physical than teams BYU's put on the floor the last couple of years. That to me means they're going to match up better with Gonzaga. Now the Zags are really, really good this year. I don't know that translates to wins, but when you get to tournament time and everybody's shooting percentage comes down, toughness pays off, and I think that we're going to see that pay off down the stretch when BYU's having to win games and it feels like tournament time. Then they go into WCC tournament and then the postseason. That toughness that they have and the ability to rebound is going to pay off for them.
What starting lineup has been the most effective in your opinion this year?
Oh, geez. Do you know what? I like the lineup, and really it's Celius that makes a difference or doesn't make a difference. I like him starting because, we talk about lack of consistency. He may be the most consistent player they've had out there this season, which is crazy that I'm saying that because he's a young guy, and young guys are supposed to be wildly inconsistent. So then the other one is, do you go with Kafusi, starting, or do you go with Nate Austin starting? And I think that depends on matchups. If you need great defensive effort and just an effort guy that's going to take charges and do that against a team, then Nate Austin seems to be the right fit. If you need a little more offense, then Kafusi seems to be the right fit. But to me, any lineup that has Celius in it, I like, because I feel like he's been the most consistent player for them. And I'm talking about outside of Kyle Collinsworth, because Kyle's just fill up the stat sheet every single solitary night. So you know how we do Y factor in football? If we did that in basketball, Kyle would be off of the list because he's just great every game. He's like the quarterback. So you take him off, and then you go, who's been most consistent outside of that? And I think Zach Celius has been phenomenal. So I'd like to see him get in there and start. He's played in 14 games. He hasn't started. How about putting him in that starting lineup?
Okay, so let me throw this starting lineup at you. Kyle Davis as the 5, Zach Celius as the 4, Nick Emery and Chase Fisher as your 2 guards, and Kyle Collinsworth as the point guard. Can BYU win 26 games this season with that lineup?
Wow, that's kind of a small lineup.
If they play zone, maybe, right?
Yeah, that's a small lineup. Davis has been really good too. You look at, you take away free throw shooting, right? that's not really good, but he's a rebounding machine, so he's consistently going to get your rebounds. He doesn't take bad shots. He shoots. What is he? 55% from the field this year. And so I love Kyle Davis in the lineup. Put him at the 5. It makes you way better offensively. It allows you to get up and down the floor. But it depends on who you're playing, because I don't think you can start that group against Gonzaga. I think you can start that group against St. Mary's. I think you can start, it depends on who you're playing. Gonzaga has the ability to put 3 guys on the floor that are 6'10" or bigger. And I think you have to match them up at least for a period of time and see if you can match up. And then if not, then you go small and try to make them run with you. But I love that offensively, Spencer. I think offensively that's a really good lineup.
Yeah, right?
I'm just not sure if we can defend. And as Jerem says, unless you play some zone, you can play zone in that. And if you're not getting beat inside, then I think you create mismatches for the other team offensively. But, yeah, I'd really like to see Celius get some starts. So
BYU has been good when they have gone to the zone, Blaine. So I know Dave likes to use that as a wrinkle, speaking of head coach Dave Rose. Would you like to see BYU play more zone than they are playing man-to-man defense right now?
It's a fun thing because it seems like they cause teams more trouble when they're in the zone and they're active in the zone, and it's just a personnel thing this year. I know that Dave would prefer to play a steady diet of man-to-man and just mix it up with zone. because it's hard to rebound when you're playing zone, especially on the defensive end. When you're playing man, you've got a guy. When the ball goes up, you put a body on that guy. It's really, really simple rebounding. When you're in man, you're in an area, or when you're in zone, you're in an area. The ball goes up, and sometimes guys don't focus. They don't go find a guy and put a body on him, and you give up offensive boards. So teams that rebound it really well out of the zone, like Syracuse and Air Force, well, I would say Air Force rebounds well, but let's say Syracuse, that zone is their primary defense. So they're really good rebounding out of that. I think that's his concern, is the ability to rebound out of it, and they've been good rebounding the ball. So I don't think we're going to see a steady diet of it. I think we'll continue to see it as a change-up to make teams have to change what they're doing offensively and confuse teams.
Blaine, just work on your free throw shooting so you can be ready to go next time.
Oh, my goodness. You want to know what? Can we say they're getting better?
Yeah.
Why can't this team – come on. They need to shoot in the mid-70s. Why can't they shoot in the mid-70s?
That's a great question, and I wish I had an answer.
Yeah, if they were shooting in the mid-70s, we could also chalk up a couple more wins right now. It's really concerning, and I know they're spending a ton of time on it, but my goodness, that's another area that they've got to get better at. We didn't talk about that. They got to get more consistent scoring. They got to be more patient and not just jack up threes when they're not hitting them. But it seems like free throw is something that if you work on it enough, you can get better at. And, man, as they go down the stretch, they're going to have to close out some games that are close from the free throw line, and let's just hope the right guys are on the line, right?
Follow him at BFowler16 on the Twitter machine. Blaine Fowler, always good to talk to you, my friend.
All right, guys, take care.